The night was supposed to be perfect. Months of planning had gone into this charity gala, and every detail shined. The lights glittered across the ballroom, the string quartet played softly, and guests in shimmering gowns laughed over champagne. I stayed behind the scenes, checking programs and cue cards, certain no one would notice me. That was exactly how I wanted it, until I heard his voice. It was smooth, confident, commanding the room. A voice I used to love. A voice I still heard in my nightmares. I turned, and there he was, Ethan Mitchell. My stomach dropped. He stood at the podium, smiling like he owned the place, speaking about his company's commitment to families. Families. My throat tightened, bile rising. This was the man who had once looked me in the eye and told me I had to end my pregnancy. The man who had begged, threatened, demanded that I erase our child. And now he was here, wrapped in the glow of applause, holding his wife's hand like the picture of a devoted husband. She was stunning, her red gown sparkling under the lights. People clapped like they were America's royalty. I thought maybe he wouldn't see me. Maybe I could slip away unnoticed. But fate is cruel. A board member grabbed my arm. "Claire, come here. You need to meet our keynote speaker." I froze. My legs didn't want to move, but I was pulled forward like prey. And suddenly I was face to face with Ethan. His smile faltered. His confident mask cracked just for a second, but I saw it. Recognition. Fear. "This is Claire," the man announced proudly. "She's the reason tonight runs so smoothly. Brilliant work." I forced a polite smile, my chest burning. Ethan's eyes darted to his wife, then back to me. His jaw tightened. She tilted her head, studying me. "She looks familiar. Have you two met before?" The question hung heavy in the air. Ethan squeezed her hand too tightly, the muscles in his neck rigid. "No, never." The word cut deeper than any knife. I swallowed hard, nodded, and stepped back. Around us the room buzzed with chatter, but in my ears there was only silence. I barely made it to the restroom before my composure cracked. My reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger, pale, hollow-eyed, trembling. I gripped the sink, gasping for air. Then something slipped from my clutch. A folded piece of paper, worn with time. I froze when I saw what it was, a sonogram photo. My hands shook as I picked it up. I hadn't looked at it in years. I thought I had hidden it away forever. But here it was, staring at me under the harsh light. The little blur of life, the proof of what he never wanted. And I remembered the nurse's voice, soft, almost apologetic. "It's a girl." I never told him. I never told anyone. He thought I had listened, that I had ended it. He thought the past was gone. But he was wrong. I pressed the photo against my chest, tears burning my eyes, not from weakness this time, but from something fiercer. He erased me in front of his wife, in front of the world. But he didn't know the truth. He didn't know her. And one day, he would. People see me as strong. Maybe it's the way I walk quickly, keep my head high, never let my lipstick smudge. But the truth is, I've learned to survive by pretending. I live in a small 2-bedroom apartment. One room is mine. The other belongs to Lily, my 6-year-old daughter with stubborn curls and eyes that shine brighter than anything in my world. No one at work knows about her. I keep that secret locked tight, afraid of what might happen if Ethan ever found out. Nights are hardest. After Lily falls asleep, I sit at the kitchen table surrounded by bills, school fees, rent, groceries. I take on extra projects, anything to keep us afloat. Exhaustion is safer than despair. It wasn't always like this. I once believed in love, in Ethan. He was older, ambitious, magnetic. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought he would stand by me. Instead, his eyes went cold. "This will ruin everything," he said. "My career, my future, you can't keep it." I begged him, but nothing changed. His love came with conditions, and that condition was the end of my child. When I refused, he walked away. What he never knew is that I carried Lily anyway. Alone in a hospital room, I brought her into the world, fierce and screaming. She saved me from drowning in the emptiness he left behind. 6 years later, she is my reason for everything. The sticky hugs after school, the little voice whispering, "Mommy, you're the strongest." She is proof that my choice mattered, that his rejection didn't destroy me. Still, fear shadows me. Fear that he'll find out. Fear that his power will crush the fragile peace I've built. That's why I hide. That's why I keep our world small. But seeing him again cracked something open. His wife's suspicious eyes reminded me, secrets don't stay buried forever. The gala was over, but the echo of Ethan's denial still burned in my chest. I woke the next morning to the sound of Lily humming in her room, brushing her doll's hair, oblivious to the storm that had reopened in my life. Our apartment smelled faintly of coffee and toast. The kitchen table was scattered with Lily's crayons, her homework sheets, and my planner packed with deadlines. This was our world. Small, cluttered, but ours. After dropping her at school, I drove downtown to the event planning agency where I worked. The office sat on the 12th floor of a glass tower overlooking the river. It was a place of endless checklists, urgent emails, and constant phone calls. I thrived in the chaos, partly because it distracted me, partly because it paid the bills. But today, distraction failed me. Every time my phone buzzed, my pulse raced, afraid it might be him. Ethan hadn't approached me at the gala, hadn't acknowledged me beyond that brutal never. But I knew him. Silence didn't mean safety. It meant calculation. Around noon, I grabbed my bag and headed down to the street cafe for lunch. That's when I saw them, Ethan and his wife. They were sitting outside, laughing over salads and sparkling water, their picture-perfect life on display for everyone to admire. I froze in the doorway, praying he wouldn't notice me. But his wife's eyes lifted, scanning the street, and landed on me. For a moment, she stared. Her gaze was sharp, probing, as if trying to place me. Then she smiled politely and turned back to Ethan. He didn't look up, too busy scrolling on his phone. I ducked inside the cafe, my heart pounding. I ordered coffee I didn't even want and sat at the farthest corner, pretending to check my messages. That's when I noticed something chilling. At the next table, two women whispered, pointing discreetly at the couple outside. "That's Ethan Mitchell," one of them said, "CEO of Mitchell Dynamics. Did you hear the rumors? Something about him being involved in a scandal years ago. A girl, maybe. It was covered up." The other leaned in. "His wife's family has money, though. They wouldn't let anything stain their name." My throat went dry. A scandal, a cover-up. My story, or another woman's? The whispers twisted in my mind. Had he buried me so deeply that people only remembered fragments? Or were there more skeletons in his closet? When I returned to the office, I couldn't focus. The sight of him living so freely while I carried the weight of our past made me tremble with both anger and fear. I pulled out the sonogram again, smoothing the paper flat against my desk. I whispered to myself, barely audible, "He doesn't get to erase her." The phone rang, jolting me. It was my boss. "Claire, the Mitchell Foundation wants to hire us again. They loved your work last night. Can you handle their next event?" My blood ran cold. The Mitchell Foundation, Ethan's world, his wife's circle, his stage. I hesitated, but I heard myself say yes, because maybe this wasn't a curse. Maybe this was my chance. The call came late in the evening. I had just tucked Lily into bed, kissed her forehead, and whispered goodnight. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, the name flashing across the screen, unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Claire." His voice was lower than I remembered, colder. I froze, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles whitened. "How did you get this number?" He chuckled, the sound sending a shiver down my spine. "You know I can find anyone if I want to. We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," I said quickly. "Stay away from me." Silence stretched for a moment before he spoke again, measured, deliberate. "You were at the gala. I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now." Anger surged through me. "I wasn't playing anything. I was working. You don't own the world, Ethan." His tone sharpened. "Then don't try to step into mine. My wife, she noticed you. She asks too many questions. If you value your peace, disappear again." The words cut deep because I remembered them. Years ago he had told me the same thing. Disappear. And I had. I had swallowed my pain, hidden my daughter, and rebuilt myself in the shadows. But this time, I couldn't. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," I whispered, though my voice shook. He laughed softly, cruelly. "You should be. I have more to lose now, which means I'll fight harder to protect it. Don't test me." The line went dead. I stood there, staring at my reflection in the dark window, my pulse racing. The next day at the office, I tried to bury myself in work. But dread followed me everywhere. Then, as I left for lunch, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. The tinted window slid down, and Ethan leaned out. "Get in." People bustled around us on the sidewalk, oblivious. My instincts screamed to run, but I couldn't afford a scene. Reluctantly, I opened the door and sat inside. The interior smelled of leather and cologne. He didn't waste time. "Listen carefully," he said. "Whatever you're holding on to from the past, burn it. If my wife ever finds out about you, about us, it won't end well for you, or anyone." I stared at him, fury boiling under my skin. "You're still the same coward. You care more about your reputation than the lives you destroy." His eyes darkened. "You think you're the only one? You weren't." My stomach lurched. The implication hung in the air like poison. He had done this before, maybe more than once. Before I could speak, he leaned closer. "You should thank me for walking away. I could have ruined you then. I can ruin you now." The driver pulled the car to the curb again. Ethan's voice softened into a deadly calm. "Stay in your lane, Claire, or I'll make sure you regret it." I stepped out, my legs trembling, my heart pounding so loud I thought people on the street could hear it. But beneath the fear, something else ignited, a spark I hadn't felt in years. If he thought intimidation would silence me again, he was wrong, because now I knew the truth. I wasn't the only one. And that meant his perfect life was built on a pile of secrets waiting to collapse. The Mitchell Foundation's next event arrived sooner than I expected. A corporate luncheon, elegant but understated, hosted in a glass-walled hotel ballroom overlooking the city skyline. My team buzzed with energy, running tables, arranging centerpieces, checking sound systems. I moved among them, clipboard in hand, trying to project calm. But inside, I was restless. Ethan hadn't contacted me again since the car ride, but his threat echoed in my ears. Every time I heard my name across the room, I flinched. Every time a phone vibrated, I feared it was him. By noon, the ballroom was filled with suited executives, reporters, and photographers. Cameras flashed as Ethan and his wife made their entrance. They looked flawless, untouchable, like they belonged to another world entirely. I stayed behind the curtains near the stage, headset on, ready to cue the speakers. The program flowed smoothly at first. Introductions, speeches, polite applause. Then Ethan stepped to the podium. My chest tightened. He began with his usual charm, thanking sponsors, praising his wife, highlighting the foundation's family-centered mission. But then, almost casually, his tone shifted. "There are always people," he said, scanning the audience, "who try to attach themselves to success. People who show up where they don't belong. It's important to protect our families, our reputations, from those who live off lies and drama." The words hit like a slap. I knew they were for me. Murmurs rippled through the audience. His wife leaned closer, squeezing his arm, smiling faintly as if she understood the hidden message. And then his eyes, those sharp, deliberate eyes, flicked toward the side curtain where I stood. My stomach nodded. The program ended with applause, but I couldn't move. Reporters swarmed him, cameras flashing, and his wife beamed at his side. I felt invisible and exposed at the same time, like he had just erased me again, this time in front of the city. When the crowd began to disperse, I slipped outside to the terrace, desperate for air. The city sprawled beneath me, beautiful and indifferent. That's when I heard footsteps. "Quite a performance, wasn't it?" a voice said. I turned. A woman stood near the railing, tall, mid-30s, with striking dark eyes. She held a champagne flute loosely, her lips curved in a knowing smile. "You looked like you wanted to disappear during his speech," she said. I stiffened. "Excuse me," she shrugged. "You're not the first. Don't worry, your secret's safe. For now." My pulse spiked. "Who are you?" Her smile didn't falter. "Someone who knows Ethan better than his wife does, and someone who learned the hard way what happens when you cross him." Before I could reply, she set her glass on the railing and walked back inside, vanishing into the crowd. I stood frozen, the city lights blurring. Ethan had just humiliated me publicly, but this stranger's words cut deeper. Not the first. It confirmed what he had hinted in the car. There were others. And maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as alone as I thought. The night after the luncheon, silence pressed down on me like a weight. Lily had fallen asleep hours earlier, her small body curled around her stuffed bear, safe in dreams. But I couldn't close my eyes. My mind kept circling Ethan's words, replaying them like a curse. People who live off lies and drama. He hadn't spoken my name, but everyone knew I had organized the event. I could already imagine whispers forming, colleagues wondering if I had some hidden scandal. He had erased me again, this time not just in private, but in front of an entire city. I poured a glass of wine, then another, hoping the burn would drown the ache in my chest. It didn't. By the third, my tears finally came. I clutched the worn sonogram still lying on the table, the faint outline of Lily before she even had a name. I promised I'd keep you safe, I whispered into the dark. But maybe I can't. The thought hollowed me out more than any of Ethan's threats. The next morning, I dragged myself through routine. I packed Lily's lunch, tied her shoes, walked her to school. She studied my face, frowning. "Mommy, your eyes are red." "Just tired, sweetheart," I lied. She hugged me harder than usual, as if she sensed the storm swirling inside me. At work, I couldn't focus. Every email blurred. Every phone ring made me jump, half expecting Ethan's voice on the other end. But the silence was worse. Silence meant planning. Silence meant he was already a step ahead. By afternoon, I slipped out early. At home, I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, panic coiling tighter and tighter in my chest. Thoughts spun. What if he tells lies about me? What if he finds Lily? What if his wife learns the truth and decides to destroy us herself? My breath came shallow, my hands tingled, the room tilted. I clutched my chest, convinced I was dying. Minutes dragged into eternity before the attack finally ebbed, leaving me drained, shaking, and ashamed. That night, I didn't bother with dinner. Lily climbed onto the couch beside me, cartoons flickering on the screen. She rested her head on my shoulder. "It's okay, Mommy," she whispered. "You can rest. I'll take care of you." Her words broke something inside me. She was 6, too small to carry the weight of my collapse. Later, when she fell asleep in my arms, I carried her to bed. That's when I saw it. An envelope taped to the front door. My stomach clenched. I pulled it free, my hands shaking as I opened it. Inside was a single photograph, me at the luncheon, caught in profile near the stage curtain. Ethan's eyes were locked on me from the podium. Across the bottom, scrawled in thick black ink, were 3 words. "Stay in line." The photo slipped from my fingers. He had been close enough to watch me, close enough to capture proof. Even here, in what I thought was my safe place, his shadow stretched over me. But as terror flooded me, another fire sparked beneath it. If he was watching me this closely, then he was careless. And if he was careless, maybe, just maybe, I could turn the tables. The envelope on my door haunted me for days. I carried it in my bag, unable to throw it away, unable to ignore it. Every time I touched the photo, fear pulsed through me. But beneath that fear, something else grew. Rage. If Ethan wanted me silent, it meant he had something to hide. Something bigger than me. I couldn't do this alone. That thought terrified me, but it also gave me a strange kind of strength. Because I remembered the woman at the luncheon, the one with dark eyes and a knowing smile. "You're not the first," she had said. I had to find her. After several restless nights, I started asking quiet questions. Through the network of event planners and hotel staff, I finally learned her name, Vanessa Harper. She worked in PR, freelancing for corporate clients. The moment I found her website, my hands shook. I emailed her, just a short message. "We need to talk. It's about Ethan." Hours later, she replied, "Tomorrow, noon, cafe on 8th Street. When I arrived, she was already there, sipping black coffee like she'd been waiting for me all her life. She gestured to the chair opposite her. "I knew you'd reach out eventually," she said. I swallowed hard. "You said I wasn't the first." Her gaze held mine. "You're not. He did the same thing to me. Different details, same pattern. Charming until he got what he wanted, then threatening when it threatened him." My stomach clenched. "A child?" She nodded once, her lips pressed tight. "I was younger than you. He convinced me to end it. Promised we'd have a future later, but later never came. He disappeared. When I tried to confront him, his lawyers shut me down. I signed papers I didn't understand just to make it stop." Anger flared hot in my chest. "So he's been doing this for years. How many women?" Vanessa leaned closer. "More than us. I've spoken to 2 others. One of them tried to go public. She lost her job within a week. The other, she vanished. No one's heard from her in months." Chills ran down my spine. I whispered, "He's dangerous." "Yes," she said, "but he's not invincible. Men like him leave trails. Financial records, contracts, payoffs. I've been digging." From her bag, she pulled out a folder. Inside were copies of wire transfers, contracts with confidentiality clauses, names blacked out but still legible in parts. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, my voice unsteady. "Because you're different. You didn't give in. You carried your child. That makes you the biggest threat to him. and maybe the strongest weapon against him. My breath caught. She didn't know about Lily by name, but the implication was clear. Vanessa suspected more than I had ever admitted. Before I could respond, she slid a flash drive across the table. "Everything I've collected so far, use it carefully, but know this, once you open this door, you can't close it again." I stared at the small device resting against my palm. It felt heavier than any threat Ethan had thrown at me. Walking home that afternoon, I felt the world tilt. For years I had lived in fear, hiding Lily, hiding myself. Now I held proof that Ethan wasn't just cruel, he was calculated, systematic. And for the first time, I didn't feel completely alone. That night, after Lily drifted off to sleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open and the flash drive Vanessa had given me. My hands trembled as I slid it into the port. For a moment I hesitated, afraid of what I might find. But fear had ruled me long enough. Folders appeared on the screen: contracts, transfers, correspondence. I clicked one at random and found pages of scanned documents, wire transfers to unknown accounts, all signed off by Ethan's company. Legal settlements with names blacked out. My chest tightened as I scrolled. Then, buried in a subfolder labeled personal, I found an email chain. My breath caught as I read. From ethan.mitchell@mdynamics.com to board@mdynamics.com. The matter has been handled. She signed the agreement. If anything surfaces, we have leverage. Photos, texts. We'll bury her the same way we buried the last one. My stomach lurched. The last one. But worse was the attachment. I clicked it, and an image filled my screen. A grainy photo of me, pregnant, sitting on a park bench, my hand on my stomach. My heart slammed against my ribs. He had followed me back then. He had proof. He had kept it. I slammed the laptop shut, terrified Lily might wander out and see. I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the apartment made me jump. At dawn, I walked Lily to school, kissing her extra tight, lingering as if I might not get another chance. She pulled back, frowning. "Mommy, are you okay?" I forced a smile. "Of course, sweetheart. Be good today." Back home, I reopened the laptop. This time, I clicked deeper into the files. Buried among receipts and spreadsheets was another folder, one labeled Foundation. Inside were internal memos about donations, names of beneficiaries. But then I saw something that froze me. A trust account. Established 6 years ago, the same year Lily was born. The beneficiary's name, Mitchell Child Support Fund. And under beneficiary, my blood ran cold. It wasn't blacked out. It was clear as day, Lily Harper. I gripped the screen, unable to breathe. Ethan had known. He had known all along. My mind raced. Had he been watching us this entire time? Funding us in secret? Was this his way of control, or guilt, or both? Tears blurred my vision. I thought I had fought alone. I thought I had protected Lily from his reach. But he had already touched her life without me even knowing. The sharp knock on my door jolted me. I snapped the laptop shut, my pulse racing. "Claire?" It was Vanessa's voice. I let her in, and she saw my pale face immediately. "What happened?" I handed her the laptop. "He knew about Lily. He's had a fund in her name for 6 years. Vanessa's eyes widened. "That's leverage. If this comes out, his entire image, family man, philanthropist, it collapses. His wife would leave, the board would panic. He's terrified of this." My knees buckled and I sat heavily in the chair. All this time, I thought I was invisible. Vanessa leaned in, her tone fierce. "You're not invisible, Claire. You're his biggest threat. That's why he's trying so hard to silence you." I stared at the laptop, the weight of the revelation crushing me. For years I believed Ethan had abandoned us completely. But the truth was worse. He hadn't abandoned us. He had been lurking, controlling, waiting. And now I understood. He wasn't just trying to erase me. He was preparing to claim what was mine. For days after I discovered the trust fund, fear gnawed at me. Every time I looked at Lily, I felt it. The invisible chain Ethan had already wrapped around her life. He hadn't taken her physically, but he had marked her existence with his money, his power, without my consent. But fear, I realized, was a cage, and I was done living in it. One morning I stood before the bathroom mirror, staring at the woman I had become. Hair dull, eyes hollow, posture bent under invisible weight. I whispered to my reflection, "No more." That day, I started to change. I booked a haircut, sharp and deliberate, as if cutting away the years of hiding. I pulled a blazer from the back of my closet, one that made me stand taller. When I walked into the office, colleagues glanced twice. Not because I looked glamorous, but because something inside me had shifted. Strength. I began running before dawn, pounding the pavement until my lungs burned. Each stride reminded me I wasn't weak. I joined a fitness class, muscles aching but alive. With every bead of sweat, I shed another layer of fear. Transformation wasn't just about appearance, it was strategy. I met with Vanessa again, this time armed with notebooks, not trembling hands. Together, we mapped Ethan's weaknesses. The secret fund, the settlements, the trail of other women silenced. "We can't move too soon," Vanessa said. "He'll crush us if we're sloppy." I nodded. "Then we'll be careful, but we'll be ready." I knew we needed allies. That's when I reached out to Mark Davis, an investigative reporter I had met years ago at a charity event. Over coffee, I slid part of Vanessa's evidence across the table. Mark's eyes widened. "Claire, if this is real, it could take down his entire empire. But once this goes public, he'll come after you with everything he's got." I met his gaze steadily. "Then I'll be ready." At home, I made quiet changes for Lily too. I didn't tell her details, but I started teaching her strength. I encouraged her to speak up, to trust her instincts, to know that no matter what happened, we were a team. One evening, as we cooked spaghetti together, she studied me with curious eyes. "Mommy, you look different lately, like stronger." Her words undid me. I knelt beside her, brushing sauce from her cheek. "That's because of you, sweetheart. You make me strong." And for the first time in years, I felt the truth of it in my bones. The final push came one night when Vanessa sent me a message. "You need to see this." She forwarded a private photo, Ethan at another gala, his arm around a woman who was not his wife. The timestamp was recent. "He's still the same," Vanessa said when I called. "He never stopped." I stared at the image, anger simmering into clarity. Every lie, every secret, every manipulation, each was another crack in the mask he fought to keep intact. And I was ready to shatter it. I wasn't the trembling girl he once abandoned. I wasn't the broken woman crying over wine and sonograms in the dark. I was Claire Harper, mother, survivor, fighter. And Ethan Mitchell had no idea what was coming. The night of Ethan's downfall arrived wrapped in glitter and champagne, just like the night I first saw him again. Another gala, another stage, another performance of wealth and power. But this time, I wasn't hiding behind curtains. Vanessa and I had worked with Mark for weeks, piecing everything together. The hush money transfers, the contracts, the secret fund in Lily's name. Mark's article was scheduled to publish the moment Ethan took the stage. I wore black that night, sleek and sharp, a far cry from the timid planner I had once been. My heart thundered, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was anticipation. The ballroom glittered with donors and politicians, cameras flashing as Ethan and his wife entered arm in arm. She looked radiant, oblivious to the storm about to hit. He looked confident, smug, unaware his empire was seconds from crumbling. I stood near the press table, phone in hand. Mark gave me a subtle nod from across the room. The clock struck 8. Ethan stepped to the podium. As he began his speech, my phone buzzed. "It's live," Mark's message read. And just like that, Ethan's secrets exploded across every news outlet in the city. Within minutes, phones buzzed around the ballroom. Whispers spread like wildfire. Faces turned toward him, not with admiration, but with suspicion, disgust, betrayal. His wife glanced down at her own phone, her smile collapsing. "What is this?" she hissed, audible even from where I stood. Ethan stammered, his polished mask cracking. "Lies. All lies." But the projector screens behind him flickered to life. Mark had arranged it. Photos appeared, wire transfers, legal contracts, and finally, the grainy photo of me pregnant on the park bench. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I stepped forward then, my voice steady. "They're not lies, Ethan. They're the truth you tried to bury." All eyes turned to me. For the first time, I didn't shrink. His wife looked from the screen to me, realization dawning in her eyes. Rage and devastation mingled across her face. She tore her hand from his arm. "You told me." Her voice cracked. "You told me there was nothing." Security moved in as reporters shouted questions. Flashes erupted. Ethan's face twisted from fury to desperation. "This is slander," he roared. "You'll regret this, Claire." But it was too late. Police entered the ballroom, led by investigators Mark had tipped off. The evidence Vanessa provided tied his financial fraud to corporate embezzlement and the settlements to criminal coercion. Ethan was handcuffed on stage, in front of the very people he had tried to impress. His wife stood frozen, then turned away, walking out without a word. The crowd buzzed with disbelief. Some pitied her. Most pitied themselves for ever believing him. I felt Lily's sonogram in my clutch, not as a secret anymore, but as a badge of survival. I had faced him, and I had won. Later, outside the ballroom, Vanessa hugged me tightly. "You did it," she whispered. "No," I said softly. "We did." Mark joined us, his phone already ringing off the hook. "This story will shake the city for months, but tonight, you get to go home free." Free. The word felt strange but beautiful. When I got home, Lily was asleep, curled up with her stuffed bear. I knelt beside her bed, brushing her curls back. "You're safe now," I whispered. "We're safe." For the first time in years, I believed it.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.